my question is, if you look for nudges, is it almost like they are hiding, or is it a formula we can use to be more aware of nudges?
Well, you're probably talking about nudges that come from without you, not nudges coming from within you, not nudges of your own creation, because there's both. You have nudges of your own creation, and you have nudges that will come from outside of you that have nothing to do with you, but you're being nudged, say, by the system to go in a certain direction or do a certain thing. Well, you recognize those as intuition. You just have a feeling, a sense that you need to do something or need not to do something. And it's not rational, it's not logical, it's not something that you necessarily would have gotten to through analysis, but it's something that just comes to you to do. And it comes to you in kind of a clear way. And if you don't do it, if you say, nah, I really don't want to go there, you'll get that nudge again. It comes back up, maybe a month later, it comes back up and you get that same nudge again. So one characteristic of a nudge from the system is that it's persistent. Another characteristic is it's not logical, it's not rational, it's just a feeling that you have of a thing you should do, a way you should react, a way that you shouldn't react. You just get that feeling, and that is what we call intuition. Intuition is just a name for your channel or your connection to the larger system. And it can be connected to other individuals, other individuated unit of consciousness, or it can be connected to the system. But you get this information mind to mind, if you will. Whether it's the system mind or whether it's another individual's mind, you get these things. And these things will nudge you, and you can, over time, you'll see a purpose in the nudging. You'll see a direction that whenever you kind of take these nudges and say, okay, I'll take that intuition, I'll take that advice, I'll take that thing and I'll do that. You find that there's value in it. Like sometimes I felt, now this is probably 30, 40 years ago, this happened a lot. I'd be doing some mundane thing like driving home from work, and I would just get an idea. Oh, don't go the way you usually go. Go around another way. And mostly in the beginning, I'd ignore those things. I said, yeah, but that's the long way. I don't want to go that way. And what happens is then I'd find myself in this horrendous traffic jam or some other kind of a problem. Whereas I had just paid attention to that nudge, I could have missed the whole thing. So it's not that the system is trying to save me from traffic jams. It's that the system was trying to train me to pay attention to the nudges, you see? So it works like that. Yeah, the system really doesn't care so much of whether I sit in a traffic jam or not. That's not that important to, who I am and what I'm doing. But it does give me practice in paying attention to nudges. So pay attention to your nudges. You might call them hunches or gut feelings or whatever you want to call it, and see where they take you. And you may find that some gut feelings or nudges don't particularly lead you to any place good, but some do. Some seem to always end up being really good ideas when you look back at them. Well, then that'll help you differentiate between the useful nudges coming from, say, the larger consciousness system that are teaching you how to be sensitive to nudges or giving you direct help, from the nudges that are just your own creation, your own stuff that you're just coming up with, your own noise basically in your channel. So that's how you differentiate. You act on them carefully, pay attention to what's going on. See, paying attention is the whole issue. Living in the moment, be here now. Understanding, all right, I did get a nudge, because a lot of people get nudges and don't have any idea they're getting nudges. They just do things or not do things, but they don't have any awareness that they even have nudges. There's a lot of very intellectual people that tell you that there is no intuition. Intuition is a fantasy. There is no intuition. Well, there isn't for them because they don't pay attention to that, because if it isn't rational, they discard it. And these intuitions and nudges are not rational. So work with them. And pretty soon you'll find out, well, whenever I kind of get this gut feeling to do this, man, that always gets me into trouble. Well, then discard that as something that you should do. When you get that, go the other way. When you get this other nudge that it's just this little kind of tickle in your mind that says, you ought to turn left here instead of right. And you don't really know why, but you got that. Well, do it and see what happens. Life is an experiment. Your existence is an experiment. It's not something to get through. It's something to learn from. So don't be afraid to treat life as an experiment. All right. I don't know why I should turn, right here instead of left or vice versa, but I did get that nudge. I'm aware enough to know that I got a nudge, and I'm aware enough to know that I'm going to do the experiment and see what happens. You see, it's that level of awareness that you need. And if you have that level of awareness, then 10 years later, you've really got it all sorted out. You know exactly the kind of nudges that come from the LCS, and those nudges, when you get them and they feel like that, you do them, because when you don't do them, you end up getting slapped. Things don't work out right. So, and there's other kinds of nudges you get that you realize that's just your own ego trying to convince you of something, or trying to make you feel better, or some other kind of thing, and then you let those go. Those are not useful nudges. Or you get nudges from other people who are thinking about you, wanting you to do or be or something else. Well, those may or may not be useful, but eventually you learn to sort those out, and you know what that's about too. And now you can integrate that into you. Well, other people would like me to do this. I wonder why. What's the point of that? You see? So suddenly now all of these nudges turn into this information flow that you're immersed in, that you're aware of, and you can learn from. And you do it all just experimentally, just trying it and see what happens. You can't get a map. There's no, there's no prescription. It's a thing. You have to sort through it. So that's the way you go through it. You have to first become aware. And then after you become aware, you have to be a scientist. You have to experiment and see how these things work. And then you have to do it enough times that it's not just a one-off, because any kind of weird thing could happen just once, right? All kinds of strange things happen just once, but eventually you'll find trends, and eventually you'll find relationships and connections to things. And then pretty soon you can start carrying on a conversation with those nudges that always nudge you in a profitable direction. And it turns into a conversation rather than a nudge. Now you've got an online, link in language with that nudging source, and you've made connections. So all of it just has to grow through your own awareness attached to your ability to experiment and do experiments over and over again until you can make some sort of sense of what's going on and why it's going on. In other words, you have to deal and interact with life at a more granular level than what most people do. Most people don't interact with it at that level. They get a nudge or something, they do an intellectual assessment of it, and if it doesn't seem like it's a good thing to do, they ignore it and keep on going. And they are the people that don't, if you ask them, well, do you get nudges? They'd say, no, I don't think so. Do you ever get a gut feeling? Sure, they'd say, I get those, but I learned that you can't depend on them. Sometimes they work out, sometimes they don't. So I've learned the best thing to do is just use my intellect and ignore them. See, they haven't gotten to the point that they've been able to create information out of what they experience as noise. There's information in that noise, but you have to have the awareness, and you have to do the experimental work in order to get that information stream out of the noise.